What's going on, guys? Rye Flawless here, and Pokemon Sword and Shield is going to bring us into the next era of Pokemon PvP. Let's talk about it. Alright guys, the first thing I want to look at is Galarian Weezing's ability, Neutralizing Gas. And so what this does is, it gets rid of all of the abilities of every Pokemon that's on the field. And this ability may be the biggest game-changing ability for the doubles format essentially ever. There's no other ability that affects everything on the field as much as this move. Let's take a look at it quick. So as you could see in the video clip, the neutralizing gas got rid of Gastrodon's Storm Drain, allowing Rotom to get the one-hit knockout on the Arcanine using Hydro Pump. However, it got rid of Rotom's ability Levitate, which allowed Gastrodon to retaliate with Earth Power and also get the one-hit KO. Now, in this particular position, I can actually see how this will benefit the opponent more. So, you got the Earth Power, it one-hit KO'd the Rotom. Yes, they're going to be able to bring in something else, but Gastrodon is something that is particularly difficult to deal with in one hit. It's very bulky. And while you took out the Arcanine, there's nothing stopping Gastrodon from putting an Earth Power into the Galarian Weezing slot, who now doesn't have Levitate because you chose the neutralizing gas ability. And most likely that Earth Power will be able to one-hit KO that Galarian Weezing. So that is just in this particular scenario, but you can see how this ability could bite yourself in the foot as well. So it's really not the easiest ability to figure out. While it looks very overpowered and very cool, it will be more difficult to utilize in battle than it may look at first glance. The one thing that I see that it can help with a little bit is Intimidate. So as you can see, an Arcanine is on the field here. Arcanine carries Intimidate, and it won't be able to get that off. However, Weezing generally doesn't carry physical attacks, so the Intimidate wouldn't affect it very much. And the same thing with Rotom, it doesn't really care about an Intimidate. So the only time this becomes advantageous is when you'd have a physical attacker next to the Galarian Weezing and they would want to bring in Intimidate and it wouldn't help them. Or if you led the Galarian Weezing with a physical attacker and they led the Intimidate, it would block it. However, it's very I guess situational that this would actually work out. The other thing it could block is weather. So we know that Pelipper is back, and with it will bring the ability Drizzle. And that, I'm sure, will be very big in VGC 2020 once it switches over to Sword and Shield. I imagine people will be bringing Double Ducks again, which would be Pelipper and Ludicolo. And Ludicolo uses Swift Swim under the rain, and Hurricane gets the boost of not being able to miss when it's under the rain from Pelipper. So those two together are just a perfect combination. And Galarian Weezing would block the rain from prompting because it would block the Drizzle. However, if you switched it out, here comes the rain, or if the rain's already out, you can't switch in Weezing to block it because the rain's already prompted, the Drizzle doesn't matter, and it's not really helping. The best way to block weather is your own weather. And what I found in 2017 VGC, one of the best things to block a rain team was also Trick Room, because that would give you speed advantage, and a lot of the water teams were trying to use Swift Swim and be very advantageous with their speed, because Ludicolo does use the Swift Swim, and Pelipper's pretty fast, and Golduck, the other duck that would have been used in that combination, is also fast. So without the speed advantage, those teams kind of fall apart. So I find that Trick Room or your own weather, like a sunny day or drought, or even sand from a Tyranitar, which is coming back to Sword and Shield, would be more advantageous. So right now, even though I really want to play around with Galarian Weezing, it doesn't look like it has too strong of an advantage with its new ability. Especially thinking that Levitate is actually super strong on regular Weezing, and maybe even stronger on Galarian Weezing, because with the Levitate, you don't have one immunity, you have two. You have immunity from ground with a Levitate, and its fairy typing gives you immunity to dragon. So it's a really strong Pokemon. While using that Levitate ability, it's going to be hard to find a scenario where I really want to use Neutralizing Gasp more. But that's just my opinion. But let's move on to the next topic. Alright guys, now let's talk about a couple new items, starting with Room Service. This item lowers your speed while you're under Trick Room. And if you're unaware what Trick Room is a technique that allows the Pokemon speed tiers to be turned around. Essentially what I mean by that is that the slower Pokemon will move before the faster Pokemon. So having this lower your speed under Trick Room helps out a lot. Let's take a look at what it can do. Now you can see how in the video, the Room Service helped the Rhyperior go before the Snorlax under Trick Room by lowering its speed. And I can see how this would actually be really viable either as an answer to Trick Room, or it could also be used with your own Trick Room. So say both teams have a Snorlax, because I imagine Snorlax is going to be kind of stapled to 2020 once VGC, once Sword and Shield comes out, because a lot of the structure for the Pokemon I've seen look a lot like 2017 VGC, and Snorlax was one of those staples on teams. So I can see a lot of Snorlax versus Snorlax matchups. So you could actually train your Snorlax to be a little bit faster, or just train it, or just give it a nature that has neutral speed versus hindering speed, which a lot of Trick Room Snorlax users will use, so that you'll be faster when you're not under Trick Room, but when you're under Trick Room, the Room Service will lower your speed a stage, and then you'll still be going before them under Trick Room. So I can see how this will be viable in a lot of different ways. So I'm excited to see this get used once the game comes out. Alright guys, now let's talk about the item Eject Pack. This is an item that ejects your Pokemon out of the battle and back to its Pokeball when its stats get lowered. Let's take a look at it. So you can see how the Duraludon used Draco Meteor and then was immediately switched out. What Draco Meteor does is, after it attacks, it significantly lowers your special attack stat, and that's why the Duraludon was withdrawn from battle with this Eject Pack. And to give you an example of how this would work, using VGC 2019 Ultra Series, one of the primary Pokemon used, or one of the very heavily used Pokemon, was Mega Rayquaza. And in order for Rayquaza to Mega Evolve, it has to have the attack Dragon Ascent. And that was one of the primarily used physical attacks that we would see on the Rayquaza. And that has a very high damage output, and to kind of balance that out, what Game Freak did was made it so after the attack goes off, it then lowers both your defense and special defense one stage. But with an eject pack, what would happen is you would be ejected back out of the battle, and then you'd have switch initiative to get another Pokemon in, and then your Rayquaza would be able to come back out later with his defense stats still intact. And I can definitely see how this eject pack will be used significantly in the 2020 format once Sword and Shield is released. Alright guys, that's it for this one, but this is going to be a 3-part series going over new information about the Pokemon Sword and Shield competitive features. And I'm going to do something a little bit different with this one. I'm going to upload this as 3 different parts, but when I'm done with the 3 parts, I'm going to then edit them together to make one final full cut of all the information in these 3 episodes. So if you want to watch each part as it comes out, I would love that. And if you want to wait for the full version, you can do that as well. But thank you guys so much for watching today. You're all flawless. If you like what you saw, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis.